Alright guys, so I'm doing this video not because I think, this world needs, another 1001 video on YouTube on how to crimp coax cable ends. I'm doing this because a customer of mine who had his radio serviced also needed a couple of cables made up for his Kenworth. So I'm doing this for him so that way when he gets this RG-400 cable, he has an idea of what to do. I don't know how much he knows. I don't know how, for all I know, he knows more than I do. But anyway, I'm just going to go over quickly because this RG-400 is, it can be a little bit more difficult than, say, like what I use on the workbench here, this RG-8X, or even this, this is, what is this, RG-58A. But in all actuality, without getting super nerdy with, data sheets and this and that, for short runs, any one of these three cables would have been fine. For what he's doing, for 11 meter, short runs, you wouldn't notice a difference at all. Longer runs, different frequencies, yeah, this 58 would probably suffer a little bit, actually a lot of it, depending on, the distance. But I figured I would go ahead and tell him to use the RG-400. This is what I would have used if I had to wire, fish through a truck, a Kenworth, or whatever truck. This is going to stand up to the elements a lot longer, arguably, the life of the truck, compared to this, or even the, the RG-8X. This is great wire, this is great cable, but I don't know if it even compared to the lifespan of, the RG-400. This is military grade. This is aerospace grade. So when you actually do look up the data sheet on this, the temperature that this cable is capable of, off the top of my head, I think it was like minus 55 degrees Celsius all the way up to like 200 and something degrees Celsius. So that's a huge swing. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that as long as these ends that we're going to be putting on here are, I guess you could say, like weatherproof somehow, I think the ends will, definitely be the shortcoming of this setup. But anyway, I think that the cable is a good choice. So I'm going to show how to crimp an end on here, because this can be kind of challenging compared to the other cables because of the dielectric in this. So I'm going to set these are his cables that I already done for him. And this is the last roll I have of this. Hopefully everything is in frame here. But yeah, so he's going to get 2 heat shrink tube and then the 2 fittings, crimp-ons. So I'm going to be sending him that along with his radio and his microphone, and he'll be a happy camper, I think. But yeah, so the reason why is because this RG-400 can kind of be a pain in the butt to work with, because that dielectric is really, really tough. You do all the same steps, but I find it difficult sometimes with this stripping tool to get that dielectric completely off. So anyway, you can kind of do what you normally do. All right. And there's different settings on this, so. All right. So nothing's different about that other than the tool did not cut through the dielectric. And that's actually a good thing because I'm going to show you why. Let me throw that piece away. All right. So now what you're going to do is, the reason why you don't want to cut the dielectric off, normally you'd have, normally this would be like 1/8 of an inch from the shield, and then you'd strip this off. But this, you can actually go in a lot farther with this. You see how far in you can go without this touching. So what you can do is you can kind of just take a measurement with your nail there, and you can kind of see we could probably leave pretty close to like 3/4 of an inch here of the dielectric, and it's not going to interfere with anything. So it's kind of like trial and error, but I found this way to be the most reliable. So let's leave about 1 inch. All right, take caution, obviously, with the tools. You want to go all the way around, kind of flex the dielectric to get the score that you did. So I got to go more. Like I tell you, this stuff is really, really tough. Okay, right there. You have to take, even though it's tough, you have to kind of take caution not to cut through to the center conductor. Actually, I might even. Yeah, most people would just cut the camera and then show you the end result, but I'm doing it for you so you can see how difficult doing this way can be. It is a pain in the butt. This is like pure Teflon. You can legit put this on a flame, this dielectric, and nothing is going to happen to it. But anyway, yeah, it is tough. Let's try that. Nope. All right. Finally. You should just take your time. That way you won't lose any strands on the wire. I know it's a pain in the butt, but we might have to cut this a little bit more. Maybe not. But you're better off doing this way before you lose some strands in the center conductor. So yeah, let's see. This is another thing that is you got to be careful with, is to not make sure you lose any strands. This takes a lot of patience, but I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we're all right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our ferrule first, slide it through. Okay, this is where let me set that aside. This is where you gotta have to kind of okay, so put also this through. You don't want to put this, crimp this on first, and then if you have the other end open, it's not going to make a difference, but it will if you have another end on it again. So make sure that both those pieces are on. All right. So now the key here is to have enough shielding. So this is double shielded, but not so much shielding that you won't be able to slide the ferrule over. So best way to do this is to just open it up as much as you can. All right, peel it back. And now I find that this shielding is just way too much to slide the ferrule over. So we're gonna have to trim. This is tough shielding too. Everything about this RG-400 is tough, but I think it's worth it in the end for this application. There's no like one golden cable that's gonna, work for everything. Different applications require different cable, different speeds, different different everything. All right, so now let's trim some of this off. So this is where it gets tricky, because you want to leave enough shielding on, but then you want to have just enough, or else the ferrule won't slide over. So hopefully I think we're good with the dielectric. So now just kind of twist it, and you want to make sure that the wire is coming through, because then later on what we'll do is we're going to crimp that end on as well, and then we can cut the remainder of the wire off. So now slide this, push this in. Oh, damn it. Okay. Yeah, you want to be careful here. So now push this in as far as you can, and then you're going to take the ferrule, and you're going to see if you can slide it over. All right, perfect. All right. So now what we can do is you're going to take your crimpers. In this case, the size we're going to use is this inside one here, which is, this says 213 on it, and I find that that's the one that works the best for this particular cable and for this particular setup. All right, so now it's just a matter of crimping, and then it's gonna release, and your crimp should look like that. It should have like a nice, and you shouldn't be able to pull this out at all. This shouldn't twist. This should be nice and sturdy. And then if you really want to too, I don't like leaving this little lip here, so what I'll do is I'll go back again, feed it almost through to the end, and then crimp it again. So now the whole length now is crimped, and that's really, really sturdy. So now the cable ends here. You're going to take, now this doesn't require much, so don't break this off, with using the incorrect crimper. So now this one here says 0.0, I can't read that, 0.068 I think. So we're going to be using the little one that's right there. You're going to crimp that, and again, it's not going to need, you don't need much. That's it. And now we can cut the excess center conductor off, and then that's it. So now what the other thing we can do is we can put some heat shrink tubing on. Actually, we're lucky because the other end doesn't have an end, so we can do that. But normally you would put the heat shrink tubing in along with the ferrule. So yeah, I should have done that. Oh, here's what it is. And then that's basically it. So now we can, you can use a heat gun, you can do whatever, you can use whatever you want. Just, I don't think you're going to be worrying about burning up the cable, to be honest, but use whatever you want. Just use common sense, right? Don't sit there and just, whatever. You want to use a heat gun, use a heat gun. Sometimes I use a heat gun, sometimes I don't. Alright, and that's about it. So now what we can do is, so normally you just do a continuity check, right? Because you want continuity and then you don't want continuity. I know there's been a million videos on this, but grab your meter. Yeah, hopefully you guys can see that. Is that a little? No. All right. I'll leave it sideways. And you want to set it so that the little tone comes on. And like the other videos you've watched a million times, you don't want continuity between the center and the shield. Okay. No continuity. It's perfect. Okay, so that's what you want. So now you'd go to the other end. Now you can actually do it like this too if you just want to test your end. So now we can find the center pin, the center braid, and you should have continuity on the other end. All right, which we do. And then for the shield, you want to make sure that you have continuity on the other end as well. So I'll go right to try to touch just the shield. And we do. Alright, that's it. The key to this is to leave enough dielectric on the end. That way you have less of a risk of having the center conductor grounding out to the shield. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. It's nothing special about it. And like I said, that's this dielectric. This is really, really tough stuff. Let me get a little pair of pliers and we can try to torch this thing and you can see. And what's awesome about this stuff is if you're using solder-on connectors, you don't even have to worry about this burning. Melting, I mean. It takes a long time for this thing to... You can see how just now it's... This stuff is crazy strong, and for long runs, if you guys look up the data sheet, for long runs, it does have a considerable amount more loss than the say like the RG-8X. A good overall cable would be the RG-8X overall. Again, it's not the magic cable for everything. Geez, I'm all tangled up here. But in certain cases, you know, this is best. And I think for this particular setup on 11 meters, in a truck setting, this is the cable to use. This is going to last a long time. And yeah, I think, you know, once he runs this, he's never going to have to run another cable again. You know, he might have to put a new end on, you know, in like 5-6 years, maybe even longer, you know, maybe 10 years or so. If you take these off every once in a while and you kind of just put some dielectric grease on there, you know, these things will last a long time as well. You know, because these are all usually chrome brass. So very rarely, well, this one is. I don't know. I'm sure that there's other ones out there that are probably cheaper, but you know, this conductor, this connector here should not rust. This is brass. So if you every once in a while, you know, well, I guess it depends on where you live. We live up in I live up in Massachusetts, so not only you got to compete with the temperature, but then you have road salts and, you know, sea salt, like up where I'm at. You know, we get a lot of I'm up by the ocean, so we get a lot of that sea breeze, you know, and it's just corrosive to everything. You know, and then the wintertime we have, you know, the road salts, and I'm sure South Dakota is pretty much the same. But anyway, yeah, that's that. There's nothing special about it, but I just figured I'd show how to do this connector on this particular cable. You know, so it can be a little bit different. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching.